Hey, it's Saturday, December 5th, and you're watching The Great Lost Rewatch. Today we're watching the Season 3 premiere, A Tale of Two Cities. This was a Jack-centric episode, but at the very, very beginning of the episode, they pull one of those you don't think you are where you really are sort of things, and it's from Juliet's perspective. We open up on an eye. She's obviously been crying. She puts on Downtown. She burns her hand and her muffins as well. She drops them on the floor. She goes to the door, and she's hosting a book club meeting, and they're talking about Carrie. And then everything starts shaking, and they all run outside, and we see Juliet comes up to Ben, and we see the plane flying overhead and breaking apart in the sky. Ben sends Goodwin to the tail section and Ethan to the fuselage, and it pans out, and this suburban community is really on the island. And I love the pan out of the little community surrounded by jungle with like smoke from the falling airplane on the screen. It's pretty awesome. When we come back to our survivors, actually Jack, Kate, and Sawyer are the only of our plane crash survivors in this episode. Jack wakes up in a cell of some sort. Kate wakes up in a shower, and Sawyer's in a cage, and Sawyer gets shocked trying to get whatever the food is, because he pushes the button that's got a fork and a spoon on it. Why did they put a fork and a spoon on a food button for polar bears? Why wouldn't they put like a fish or something? Wouldn't that make more sense? Kate puts on a pretty dress and goes to have breakfast with Ben. And this scene made me really want to French press. Ben plays some wicked mind games with Kate and tells her that I wanted to give you something nice, put you in a pretty dress to make you feel like a lady, and give you a nice breakfast because the next 2 weeks are going to be hard. Jack hears his dad on the intercom and asks Juliet about that. She says that intercom hasn't been working for a long time, so he must be hearing things. He lies about his profession. He says that he's a repo man and that he was never married. He never saw the point. But then he goes and he tells the truth about why he was in Australia. Juliet takes Jack some food, and he sits, across from the door, and he's gonna, like she asked him to, but he attacks her and he drags her out. And Ben says, don't open that door, because if you do, you'll kill us all. He threatens to kill Ben, and Ben says so. And then he lets go of Juliet, and Juliet's running towards where Ben is, and he closes the door to the room that he's in before she gets there. So basically leaving her to die, because Jack opens the door and water rushes in. And they manage to get themselves to safety, and Juliet bobs Jack. They bring Kate out to the cage across from Sawyer. She's obviously been crying. They've done something to her. What have they done? She hasn't been on screen since when she was having this meal with Ben. And she's obviously been... something's happened. Her wrists, where have the cuffs on, are all red and raw. Like she's been in them for a long, long time. She's obviously emotionally distressed. I just wondering what they did with her for that time. But Sawyer has figured out how to get the fish biscuit, and he tosses it over to Kate, which she gladly eats. Juliet has a file on Jack. She says that basically his whole life is in that file, and all he wants to know is Sarah happy? And yes, Sarah is happy. In flashbacks, we discover that Jack has some issues with trusting his father and Sarah. He wants to find out who Sarah had an affair with, and we're kind of getting a glimpse of flash forward Jack, I think, in this episode. He's kind of trying to go off the deep end. Clues lead Jack to suspect that Sarah's having an affair with Christian. Jack gets so wound up to the point that he follows his dad from work to a hotel where he, barges in on an AA meeting and beats his dad up in the middle of an AA meeting. I think at the very end, Juliet has convinced Jack that he will take some food. He goes and he sits at the edge of the room, and she says, I can only do this if you promise not to do what you did last time, and he agrees. And Juliet walks out of the room with the viewing glass. Ben's there, and he says, good job, Juliet. And she says, thank you, Ben. And I think that's the first time we get his name. So I think that's where we're going to leave it. Leslie, you're back with the glass ballerina. I will see you guys later. Bye.
We're gonna need to watch that again.